Today, I'm answering the question of what books I would recommend on God and politics. We are in an election year, a very volatile election year. And so the three books I'm going to recommend are ones I think are highly valuable for Christians to read and wrestle with the ideas in these books as we approach an election cycle. And one of the things you might find interesting is that none of these three books are coming at it from a purely partisan perspective, trying to get you to vote one way or the other. I'm much more interested in encouraging fellow believers to think very carefully about what it means to maintain our identity in the culture as the people of God, as evangelicals, in the midst of a very polarizing political climate. I trust that everyone in our church is intelligent and knows God's word and is able to apply that to their convictions as they go to vote. And so these three books are not so much telling you how to vote; they're telling you, really encouraging you to think well. And so the first book is actually called "How to Think: A Survival Guide for a World at Odds" by Alan Jacobs. An incredible book. He talks a lot about the dynamics of social media and how social media actually works against our ability to think and reason clearly. It often traffics in sound bites. It often traffics in inflaming more than informing. But this book isn't just about social media. It really is about how to engage people in a way in which we are really listening to what they're saying, taking their arguments seriously, and getting past a lot of the rhetoric, a lot of the stuff that just keeps us from hearing one another, and asking good questions and engaging in a thoughtful way. So, How to Think by Alan Jacobs. The next book is called Who is an Evangelical by Thomas Kidd, The History of a Movement in Crisis. So Thomas Kidd is a historian who specializes in American church history. And so his areas of specialty are in the colonial, the founding period of America, and also the mid-century evangelical movement. And so Kidd is really tracing how the church's relationship to politics morphed over the years. And he's really asking the question, how has the name or the title evangelical shifted throughout the time that this term has been in use? And one of the things he shows is that the term evangelical used to be identified more with our message, what we believe. It's the evangel, the message of the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. And yet, now I think when you ask most people in their culture who is an evangelical, they're going to say, well, they're a voting bloc. There are people who vote this particular way and maybe don't even make the connection with the message that we are called to proclaim. And so this book it's not a really long book, but it's a pretty packed in terms of content book, about 150 pages of history on the evangelical movement and how that shapes the way we understand our relationship to the political sphere. And the last book is a little bit more of a practical guide on thinking about politics. It's called How the Nations Rage. It's by Jonathan Leeman, subtitle Rethinking Faith and Politics in a Divided Age. Just so much good stuff in this book. In fact, I would say if you had to pick one of the three, this is the one to read for the most comprehensive help on how to think Christianly about politics in a way that's meaningful, in a way that helps us not just always default to a kind of a partisan position, but to really apply the principles of God's word to every issue, and to think clearly about how those things work out in the political sphere, what it means for us to be involved. And so Jonathan Leeman, How the Nations Rage, probably my top recommendation out of the three, but all three are great. And so these are the three. Alan Jacobs, How to Think. Sorry, it's upside down. How to Think by Alan Jacobs. Who is an Evangelical by Thomas Kidd. How the Nations Rage by Jonathan Leeman.